Welcome to my channel. My name's Adriana and I love to share recipes that bring me joy, especially Mexican, vegetarian, and vegan recipes. Today I want to share with you one of the most basic staples of any Mexican kitchen, Mexican rice or Arroz Mexicano. This is a very easy recipe that simply requires some attention to some key ingredients. The first one being rice. Most recipes will call for long grain rice, but in a vegan recipe, I really think the flavor of jasmine rice and that beautiful fragrance it has, it's going to work just perfectly for it. And as you can tell, I really like this brand. I'm almost done with it. It's organic and it's just high quality rice. The second ingredient is going to be vine-ripe tomatoes. We're at the end of summer here, so we still have access to some beautiful tomatoes, but I find that throughout the year, vine-ripe tomatoes are the ones that are gonna have the most flavor, and that's another really key ingredient in any recipe that has to do with Mexican rice. The third ingredient is going to be a white onion, just a little bit of garlic, some good olive oil. I really like this brand. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. It's just one of my favorite ones. I use it in almost all recipes. Some salt. I really like using pink Himalayan salt, but any salt that you have will do. Some water. So let's get to it. So the first thing I'm gonna do is measure out about a cup of rice. I don't want to waste any. There we go. And now we're just gonna wash it. You want to wash it pretty thoroughly so that most of the starches run out, but not too much so you can still keep that jasmine flavor. And this is an important part of the recipe. I'm actually going to be putting a towel underneath the colander to make sure to grab some of the excess moisture, and that's going to help in the way that our rice cooks. The first thing I'm gonna do is just gonna roughly chop 2 tomatoes. Place them into our blender. I'm using a food processor here, but any blender will do. Have a quarter of the white onion, 1 garlic, and some salt. And let's go ahead and blend this up. That's perfect. So we're ready to start cooking our rice. The first thing I'm gonna do is add about 2 to 3 tablespoons of olive oil, just enough to coat the bottom. And it's important that you use a pretty heavy pot because if it's too thin, the moisture is gonna be absorbed way too quick. All right, I'm gonna turn this on to medium-high heat and add our rice. And what I'm going to do is just mix it so that it grabs enough of the oil. And we're gonna leave it at medium-high heat. Don't walk away. We're gonna cook it until it's about a golden color. Not too brown, just golden, okay? And you want to keep stirring every grain of rice around so that all sides get cooked evenly. Whoa. So it's been about 3 minutes and we're almost getting there. As you can see, it's beautiful golden color. And at this point, I'm actually going to turn off my heat, stir it for about another 20 seconds. All right, there we are. And I'm going to quickly pour in our tomato sauce and cover it really quick. Make sure you're really careful when you do this. It can get really hot and everything can start splattering everywhere, which is why I highly recommend putting your lid on. At this point, I'm gonna remove the lid and stir in the tomato sauce. And I'm gonna turn the heat back on. See, the bubbles are almost going down, so it's cooled off enough. Turn back your heat to about medium to medium high. And we're going to stir and stir and stir until the tomato sauce has reduced a bit. So most of the tomato sauce has reduced, and I wish you could smell this. The fresh tomatoes with the olive oil, everything cooking down is just so beautiful. It truly reminds me of my childhood, and if you are of Mexican descent, you probably have memories of your grandma making this type of rice in their home. I'm gonna turn down the heat a little bit to about medium low. And now we can add our water. So I'm adding about 1 3/4 cups of water. And at this point, I actually like to taste my rice and make sure that the salt is correct, because every tomato is a little bit differently, so it's going to react a little bit different. So just put a little bit on my hand and taste it. And I actually think I need a little bit more salt. So I'm gonna add a little bit. Stir it and taste it again. And I think that's just perfect. Again, it just depends on your tomatoes and the acidity that they have. I feel like the salt is something that you just have to try on your own every single time you make this dish. So as you can tell, this is starting to boil again. So I'm gonna turn off the heat. And I actually like to move my pot to my small burner and put it on very, very, very low heat, just so that you see small, tiny bubbles coming up. And I'm gonna cover it for 20 minutes. So it's been 15 minutes. At this point, I like to check my rice. I like to move it around a little bit with my fork, and I like to check and see how the water content is doing. As you can see, if you look at the bottom of the pan, pretty much all of the water is gone, but it's still a little moisture on top. So I'm just moving it around to get all of the tomato sauce in every single piece of rice. But I am going to close it back up again for another 5 minutes. So it's been 20 minutes and our rice should be done. I'm just gonna check it really quick. It will still look a little bit wet, and that's completely fine. That's exactly what we need. At this point, I'm simply going to turn off the heat completely and keep it covered for about 10 to 15 minutes, and they'll be ready. I'm so excited to share this recipe with you guys because this is such a staple in so many different Mexican recipes. It's one of the most used side dishes, and it's so easy to make, yet so many people can mess up this recipe by using ingredients that are not fresh or canned, and sometimes just like the tiny little pieces of technique make all of the difference. And I really think this is going to be one of the best Mexican rice you've ever had. So I hope you enjoy it. Buen provecho.
Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more recipes. And follow me on social media at AMDV Adriana.